right. Start?
3, 2, 1, I'm clapping.
Okay. Clap back. Oh, I
Does that mean
can't clap.
Why can't you clap?
Well, I can clap,
You,
but you won't hear it because
you only
then
got one hand.
yes.
Smack yourself in the side of the face. That'll work. Just that's.
In the nuts. No, on my desk. All right.
Got your nuts on your desk.
I don't want to talk about it.
Oh dear. So are we triumphantly coming out of Zelenogorsk right now, René, with all the loots, everything, backpacks
That was going
full
to
of
be
stuff?
my question to you.
No, that's my question to you.
All right.
Are we doing that, René? Do we have AKs, M4s? Do we have our life? Do we? What? God, tell them.
I'm afraid we perished. We went down in the city. I think we shot a couple of zombies. And we got separated from each other a little bit. Because you were already in the base. I wasn't. And I was just moving more south towards the piano building. And when I went around the corner, basically around the garages next to the well, there were two guys. They started shooting at me. One of them went unconscious. And then the other one killed me. And I was basically stuck in a corner. I wanted to back off, but I couldn't because it was a dead end. And something happened to you too. What happened from your side?
Well, I think I got into what's known as the comfort zone of DayZ. When you're playing DayZ and you've played it for a number of hours and you feel completely and utterly safe and you're just cruising through, you're on autopilot, and yeah, that's what happened with me. I was in the base. I didn't feel in the slightest bit under any threat whatsoever. And next thing I hear was you shouting, "Oh, I'm being shot at! I'm being shot at!" So of course I came running like the hero I was trying to be. Just turned the corner to see the guy that had killed René lifting his gun to shoot me square in the face, and I died. So yeah, it was not a successful run.
No. Well, not a successful end. I think it was a good run.
But yeah, I mean, it was all right. We didn't really achieve much other than our first ever podcast. But
that's a big achievement.
That's an achievement. In fact, to talk about that for a second, René, I must admit, when you first mentioned this to me, you said, podcast, FT, podcast. I want to do a podcast. And I said, go on then, René, off you go. Go and do your podcast. And have your 10 people listening to it. Because I won't be listening to it. I don't listen to podcasts. No one listens to podcasts. They're so 1950s. And you said, no, but I really want to do this. I said, okay. So you got my arm against my back, lifted it up, and I came along for the journey for what I thought would probably be a single episode, and I'll be able to say to you, see, René, no one wants to watch or listen to a podcast, but seems I'm wrong.
Yeah, man. It exceeded my expectations. You asked me what I expected, and I was like, I don't know.
Did you know though? Did you have a figure in? Because you must have had some idea or some thoughts or some aspirations for a viewing figure.
I up front, I didn't. But when you asked me, I started thinking about it, and I think a couple of hours later or something, I was like, I would be happy if we would get 1,000 views or listens. And we exceeded that by a lot. So I'm happy. And
I'm here for episode 2.
You're happy too. Yeah.
So I guess I must be. I'm as happy as I get.
Well, you're very happy. Very happy guy.
Yeah. Keep telling me.
Well, you are. You're enjoying the game. You're enjoying the podcast. You're enjoying the talk.
I'm not enjoying the fact I can't get through this gate. Oh, by the way, people, we are playing the game again. Now, there was I don't know if I'm going to jump in here where I shouldn't do, where I'm going off-piste, René, where I'm not following the notes, because we've made notes as well. But there was feedback, and some of the feedback was we shouldn't be playing the game. Am I right?
Yeah. Yeah, that's true. We got a couple of comments like, people weren't expecting the fact that we were playing the game. We said it right at the start that we were playing the game. So some people got surprised by the fact that we were doing that. I feel pretty good about playing the game while doing this, because it also maybe provides you a little bit of, everyone a little bit of the feel of DayZ. I found a tent. I found a camp. Sorry.
An actual camp?
Yeah,
with stuff.
yeah, it's pretty weird. It's a UMP in it. Doesn't have a Mac, I think. No, it doesn't. So, last week we did like an introduction of ourselves, and we did a 2016 recap. And I think, well, we thought it was a pretty good way to start out the podcast. So if people jumped in, at least there was a basis of something we talked about, and we basically touched everything. Some things briefly, some things more extensively. And first of all, well, FT briefly mentioned it, but thanks for the lots of feedback, the emails, the YouTube comments, the tweets. We had the SoundCloud comments, and I had some responses on Discord. A lot of different mediums to get responses on. But I was surprised by the big amount of people that actually responded and that enjoyed it. So thank you for that. The podcast is also available on iTunes. I think a lot of people actually listen to it on YouTube. You can do that if you want. You're free to do whatever you want. But it might be the wrong way to listen to a podcast. The best way to listen to a podcast, in my opinion, is to listen it on your phone. There's applications that, are...
I haven't got a phone, René.
Well, like I said, you're not mandatory to do anything like that.
I'm just saying, there are people out there, third world and all that don't have phones. So if they want to watch it on YouTube, I think they should. But sorry, go on, I interrupted you rudely there. You're going to tell them all about how they should watch it using some sort of podcast program.
Well, it's more convenient to do that, so you can download it, listen to it offline while you're on the road or that kind of stuff. So you still bring a little bit of DayZ with you if you want to.
If you've got a phone.
If you got a phone. Or an iPod, something like that.
I've got an iPod.
Yeah, you can use that.
Oh, okay.
You can use whatever you want, but I use my phone. It's available on iTunes. iTunes is the biggest available platform for podcasts. So if you like the podcast or not like the podcast, it would really help us out if you would leave a review on that. If you have an iTunes account or something like that, please go there and rate it. We got a couple of responses and reactions we want to react on.
Is that us reacting to reactions?
Yes.
That could be its own YouTube channel and video and everything.
That's
FT and René react to reactions of their podcast.
Exactly. We could do that, but for this podcast, for this podcast, I just wanted to, I picked out a few comments where I wanted to respond on, and the first one is mentioned by John or Joe. Sorry, I still don't know how to pronounce it.
John, it's John.
John. Okay. Well, his question is: do you think 100 pop servers should come back to DayZ? Do you have an idea of that, FT?
I don't think they're necessary. I don't think 100 pop servers. I mean, maybe it's something that you want to aim for, but I think 60 pop servers have made a difference. It's only 10 above 50, which is the norm. Mm-hmm. But if you push that up to 75, that seems to be like the golden figure, 75 or 80, 75 or 80. I think that's where they need to. If they get to that sort of figure, then you really are going to be seeing more interaction all over the map. I mean, the thing is, as we discussed last week, with the changes to the map and the spawns, you're seeing interaction spread more evenly across the map now as it is, but you obviously increase the player base, the population, and but obviously people have got to pay for these, and they pay per slot for the servers, so there is that to consider. DayZ's not a cheap thing to host, so
no. I think it will become a little bit cheaper though, and I do feel maybe 75 is like the max you would like to see. I think it's not a wrong figure to want 100 pop servers. If you're gonna if you want to play on it, that's a different story. But I think they should definitely try and make it more available. When modding comes out, I think it will partly be the people will make it themselves, right? It doesn't matter if devs want it or not. I don't think they can restrict that sort of figure.
It's whether or not the game can cope with that amount, that amount of players on a server, because
Yeah, that's
you know as
true.
well as I do, when we first started playing some of the experimentals that had small pops on them initially, they were so smooth. You could every single action you did, everything you interacted with was so smooth. And obviously, the greater the server pop, the greater the load on the server, and if it's going to mess up with the way DayZ plays, then you've really got to consider that.
Yeah, no, of course. But, they can't restrict it, so surely it will come. They had the same thing in the mod, right? In the mod, we were also struggling, and this is maybe getting a little bit more technical than I would want to. But in the mod, at some point, we were also struggling for frames. And then DayZ mod Day Zero came out, and it will probably also one of the mods that will probably be in standalone. But that one, they actually removed the grass from the ground. So basically, it gave you like 20 more FPS, which was, the mod didn't run smooth either. So it was a very welcome change for that as well. I think a lot of people, they will be able to change something like that. So surely there will be 100-person servers, maybe supported by the developers, maybe not. I don't think it's necessarily needed. I would certainly like to see more players on all the servers. Yeah, 75 players, I would be happy with that. But just step by step. 100 persons, I don't specifically see the need for it, but I do expect it to come.
So, I mean, do you know how long they've had? We went from 50 to 60, didn't we? And that seems like a while. Was that 0.60? So probably a year we've
Yeah.
had 60-man servers. So the transition from 60 to the next one, which should ideally be 70, or maybe it'll go straight to 75, that hasn't happened in 12 months. So,
Mm,
yeah, it's going to be interesting.
yeah, since June, to be completely precise.
6 or 7 months then. So, yeah.
Yeah, of course, it hasn't happened yet. They already tried to go for the 75-person test. They also did 100-person slot test, and that didn't run smooth at all, to be honest. But it was fun, nevertheless. I remember seeing like videos of 15 new spawns running after this random guy with a gun, trying to knock him out. That was
Well,
fun to
you kind of
watch.
get a false when they launch these servers. You get a false feeling because they'll launch a server on an experimental, and 75 people will be fresh spawns. So 75 people are spawning all along the coast, and it makes
Yeah,
it feel a lot more claustrophobic because that's not natural. As a server has
yeah, that's
grown
true.
in its time, people have moved inland, and you've probably only got 10 or 15 people spawning on the coast. So, and as I say, as it but we never got that far through because the servers have never been stable enough. I remember playing the 75-man servers, the
Hmm.
experimentals, and it was interesting to say the least.
Yeah. No, surely it was fun. I think I even made a video about it, but yeah. All right, so the next one, Molly corrected us in the comments, and she said that I'm not 100% sure how to make a mod, but you can use them on the Xbox and PS4 too, because we last time we said we didn't think it was possible to use mods on the consoles, but yeah,
Mm.
apparently it is. So yeah, that was our mistake from last time, which is corrected.
The only one. They only make one mistake, did we?
Well, probably not.
Oh, right.
This is a comment by Brian Neal, and he says there are different ways to play the game: friendly, bandit, survivor, psycho. Which one do you enjoy the most? Do you have an answer to that?
Me?
Yeah.
Oh, friendly bandit. I don't know. I mean, I don't like the psycho. I think that's a little bit disturbing. You know, because you kind of have to get into whatever playstyle you want to adopt in DayZ. You kind of have to get into it, and I don't feel I don't feel overly comfortable being a psycho. Um,
Hmm.
when I did the Bandit series, I found it so much more easy to kill people without the human aspect coming into play. So if I didn't have to speak to someone, then it wasn't so difficult just to kill a bunch of pixels in front of my face. As soon as the human aspect comes in and they say hello or speak to you, then is so much more difficult because
Hmm.
you're dealing with someone that's perhaps run for a couple of hours, or maybe even longer. That the character could be 5, 6, 7 hours long, old. Sorry. Playing different roles it does affect the way your feelings are for that character, and your feelings are for yourself as well. It doesn't. It's not just about going ahead and the way I see it anyway. And I'm not getting too heavy about this. It does alter the way you feel, your emotions when as you're playing the game. If you're going to
Hmm.
play a complete bastard and kill people all the time, it's something I really struggled with when I was playing the bandit. It's because it's not. I've spent so long playing a more friendly playstyle that it was very difficult to adapt. That said, by the time I got through to the end of the episode, at the end of the series, the last episode, I was finding it a lot easier, a hell of a
Yeah.
lot easier.
So you had
Um,
like bandit practice.
yeah, but I still, if I'd spoken to someone, I still found it difficult, and I still do. You know,
Yeah,
I
of
can always
course.
see the human behind the player character, and for Toby it was completely different. He could one particular point he'd spoken to someone, and he said to me, "I got the gun, and Toby didn't have the gun. The guy hadn't seen me, and he said, right, are you going to come over and kill him?" Just like that, as
Hmm.
if it was so easy to do. And I said, "Well, no, I can't now. You've spoken to him, and he's a person, and he's been really nice to you. He didn't kill you. He's got a gun. He could have shot you."
Hmm.
And it surprised me a little bit. Toby was just, "Oh, I don't care. If I was," because after we discussed it, and he said, "Oh, I would have been absolutely quite happy killing him." Yeah, it's just surprising how it affects different people. Some people can
Yeah,
just
of course.
detach completely from it, and other people, perhaps take it a little bit more seriously. I don't know. That
Yeah,
was a
but
long-winded, very long-winded answer to the question, I think. But
that's
that was,
fine. That's fine. We can share our thoughts. I wanted to ask you a follow-up question, and that is that don't you feel the same, or shouldn't you feel the same about the people you killed and didn't talk to? Because you don't know what their story is, right?
well, it, yes and no, because I mean, if you haven't spoken to someone, you can detach from it a lot easier. If you've spoken to
Hmm.
someone, it's a lot more difficult. That's the way I find it. I can perfectly come up with a reason in my own mind to kill someone. I just find it's a lot easier to detach. There's there's usually a reason why you would do what you do to kill someone, even as a
Hmm.
bandit. It's easy enough to put a reason into place, put it that way. So no, I don't find that difficult.
Hmm. Well, I do find that those kind of stuff difficult because
Because you go to the next level. You don't just think about the person at that moment. You think about the character, and you go far deeper, don't you?
well, I'm not so into who is the character from the other people. I do ask them a lot of questions like where did they come from, and I want to know everything. If I could, I wanted to ask everything like where did they came from, what is their name, did they see anyone else, do they have any friends with them. I think that is very important information, probably questions that everyone should ask another survivor he meets because it is just it's necessary to need that information because it could give you like a mission or a story or whatever, and
Could get you killed.
it could get you killed as well. But I do think it's far more important and valuable to give some meaning to your life, like an alternative meaning than something you're maybe already doing at that moment. For example, the other day I came across this guy, and he just told me he could. I think I was near Novi Sobor, and he said there's a massive shootout near Gorka, and I ended up at Gorka, and indeed I heard like a lot of shots, and I could have like mixed up in it, but I decided I didn't because, he was saying like there was a big group killing everyone, and if I didn't know that, I might have maybe taken a closer look, and most people probably would have, but I got beaten up by zombies so much just before, that I just didn't want to do it at that time, and that's just a choice I could make because this guy gave me the information I needed to make that specific decision. And I think that's something very valuable.
Hmm. What about though? But you don't know what it would feel like to kill on sight because you never have.
That's not true. I have killed on
No, no, no,
sight.
you haven't. No, 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 you haven't been a callous kill on sight. No, in the what? Well, let me rephrase that, because I know that in the mod days you did do that sort of thing. But
Yeah.
since the standalone, you've taken this very high moral ground that you will not kill on sight, and that you feel that those that do kill on sight are people that are playing the, well, it's a bit harsh to say playing the game wrong, but you do take a bit of a moral high ground here, don't you?
Yeah, I sometimes I do. Sometimes I get angry. I think a lot of people sometimes get angry at people who just, you know, I often, just to talk about Paul, for example, and you've probably been there too. Like, sometimes you see people just kill someone else, and some people just get really salty. Like, why did this happen? And why do you just kill me? I don't have a gun. I just ran all this way, and I'm not the only one, and I don't mind too much if people kill me. I usually try to learn from my experiences. But sometimes I just feel bad about what happened. Sometimes you could have done something way different than you should have. Sometimes you take a too fast approach. But DayZ is the kind of game that punishes you immediately for wrong decisions. But
I love people that try and shoot me. I do.
You
I
love
do.
them?
I absolutely love it. If they miss, it's fucking. I shouldn't really swear, but it's epic. It really is, because if they miss, then it gives you a whole reason to a whole new reason to go and kill them, and it's so satisfying.
That is
There's
true,
nothing.
especially if you get out on top, right?
Yeah, yeah,
I do feel that.
brilliant.
But I think I
And
do run away way easier than you do, for example.
no, I don't run away though. I think because
Yeah.
I always see it as an opportunity, and it's an opportunity. Firstly, in my own mind and for my own satisfaction to do what I feel needs to be done, and I also then think to myself, there's an opportunity for a video to be made, but it's not like I do it. I play DayZ to make a video. I play DayZ to get the excitement out of the game, and then the making of the video becomes a secondary aspect of that. It's just an offshoot. So,
Yeah, of course.
but yeah, I mean, if you didn't have these people that were shooting, I think we discussed it last time. Well, we touched on it anyway. Um, you've got a very boring loot game, with a beautiful backdrop that I wouldn't still be playing if it was.
No, I
if
think
it, you know,
yeah, of course. The beauty of DayZ is when you get shot, the tenseness of the game as well, and that you have to watch your every step. We did indeed talk about that last time, so let's not talk about it again, I guess. Yeah, moral high ground. I don't know. It's just more natural to me to try and get some sort of story going. I always try to go on an adventure with another survivor, and I don't like the fact, like you just mentioned, that a lot of people just, they just, hey, is this you? I knew it was you.
we've just met in game.
Yeah.
I knew you'd be hanging your nose over all this loot here.
Just to specifically answer the question of if I play a friendly bandit survivor or a psycho, which one do I enjoy the most? It sounds really cheesy maybe, but I feel, I try to behave as a survivor, and I'm probably more on the friendly side, but I don't like to put myself into this solid box, and I know this is the same way everyone answers it, but maybe that's just because it's true. For me, anyway.
You want to be a hero.
Well, I don't think people should say they are a hero. I'm striving for helping people. Doesn't make me a hero. I make a lot of bad decisions too in my DayZ lives.
You're my hero, René.
Maybe sometimes.
You are when you save me. When you leave me on the ground unconscious and bleeding out, and you're nothing. You're nothing like a hero then.
Yeah, it's also very. This is the thing, right? Heroes in DayZ standalone, you can be a hero for someone else in one occasion, but the guy who just saved you might as well just kill 10 other people, brutally, but he can still be my hero. And this is the different aspect of a hero in DayZ, I think.
A hero to someone is a bandit to someone else.
Yeah, it's very circumstantial, or how do you say it? Yeah.
I mean, that's something else that we'll probably touch on, and you'll probably tell me we're not allowed to talk about right now, but because it's in the notes that I should have read. Someone will give me a hard time about that, then say that, because I have read them actually. I'm just joking, but a situation in DayZ can be so easily misconstrued as something else. Just as you've said there, someone could seem like they're saving someone and could be brutally killed 10 other people to save one person. Not that that really happens very often, but
sometimes it does. Sometimes you hear like stories. We both had encounters. We recorded it on video, and people, and we saw them shooting at other people, and they come back with the story. Yeah, dude, they shot at us first. And that could be the case, but. Sometimes
but even if you watch something with your own eyes, that you can't be sure as to the backside of the story. You could be seeing someone tying someone up and robbing them, but they could actually be doing that after being shot themselves. And
and killing 4 teammates of the guy that is holding them up right now. Yeah.
So should I have spoke about that, René? Was that something we were going to talk about or not?
Yeah. We might talk about that in the future if there's more interest on it. I think we should
leave your comments below.
Leave your comments below.
Sorry, go on. We're on 2A paragraph B now, René. Go on.
Yep. We got another, and this is the last reaction we're gonna talk about today, and that is the FFS. It's a name. It's maybe a little strange name, but it's a name. But he says, "I love to hear another one, maybe exploring the broader aspects of the game, such as why DayZ feels different than other games." And I think why DayZ feels different than other games, I think we already touched that a little bit, in this episode and last episode. And I think it's mainly because the amount of time spent, the danger that is there. Always the fact that you can just meet random people and you don't know what you're up against. Will they be friendly? There is so much uncertainty in this game that I think that is the part, and also the uniqueness, like the unique scenarios. You come across all, like you said last time, no scenario is the same. And I think that's all combined makes the DayZ experience. It's just a perfect storm, isn't it?
It is, yeah. That may come under the banner or the umbrella of something else we could bring in here. Roleplay servers.
Mm-hmm.
I know. Again, that's not. I'm off pieced all over the place, René. I know I'm going to be destroying your note system here, but the whole aspect of that side of it is missing for someone that plays on a roleplay server where you have to initiate an interaction and your violent tendencies. You have to announce them. So, would you not think that people that are playing on that sort of server are perhaps missing out a little bit on that side? You say that's the guy asked the question there. What makes DayZ unique? You answer it with the fact that your life's on the line all the time.
Mm-hmm.
And those that play on those sort of servers don't have. They're still getting something out of the game,
Yeah, of course.
It's not everything. I think is probably the way where I'm going with this. It's there's still
that's true.
There's still a lot more to it, but
yeah, that's very true. So DayZ is something for everyone else. I like this game. I picked it up mainly because it was a game without rules, and this is one of the main things why I picked it up. And I generally don't really like it if there's rules. Therefore, also with events, there is also rules.
I mean, there are people that will go out and they'll play on a low pop server. They'll go out and play on next to zero pop servers because they don't want the very thing that you're discussing. You're saying is the thing that you feel is the big draw to DayZ. So,
well, if people are looting up on low pop servers and then go on high pop servers to shoot someone, I think they should. I don't know. You should just always
grow some
play
balls.
on high. Yeah, no, well, you should do whatever you want, of course, but I think you're missing out on that experience because looting up on a high pop server is far more rewarding, I think, than just on a low pop server. Again, DayZ is something for everyone, and everyone should play how they want to play it within.
But yeah, everyone's going to have a different answer to that question. Not everyone. I mean, I would say the overriding popular answer to that question would be the answer that you gave. The feel you get when you're running a character that is a number of hours old, and you know that any moment it's not so much the environment now, because that obviously was an issue at one time. But the environment doesn't tend to be so much of a threat. The wolves are a threat, and the zombies can be a bit of a threat, but it's more than likely going to be a bullet out of nowhere that finishes you, and that's the big threat, and the big worry, and the big draw for a high percentage, I would say.
Yep, no, that's true, and we'll have to see how it will evolve in the future. All right, so third person.
Oh, hold on a second, I've got a can of worms.
A can of worms?
You heard that phrase?
No.
Opening up a can of worms.
That it's so much trouble, something?
Yeah. We're going to be in trouble with this topic, René. I can feel it right away.
Third person and first person?
Yeah. Well, the problem I've got is it's done to death for one, but I guess we're going to have to cover it.
Yeah, at some point.
Because it's in your notes, isn't it?
It is in my notes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're in my house now. I can hear you breathing down the neck.
All right. I'm coming up.
I'll see you. I'll see you before you see me, because you're in first person and I'm in third person.
That is very true. I'm in first person right now.
Yeah, I saw you first.
And I think you should be in first person too.
I wouldn't be able to see how wonderful my character looked if I was in first person.
Of course you can. You just hit tab. You can see your character. You can turn it around. Inventory.
I have it bound something different, but okay.
Yeah, if you open your inventory, you can see.
Okay, I'm running with my character and the inventory open now. He's static. He's standing still, doing nothing. He's not running. I can't see the action of the character.
You can turn him around.
Can't make him
zoom
run.
in on his face.
I don't want to look at his face. I want to look at his arse. You can't do that in first person.
Okay, I guess that's true. But you like to look at your character.
Yeah, that's not the only thing though. I find personally playing. I didn't open that door for you to run out of. That was for me to go out of.
Sorry, I will go back.
No, you're all right. I find it a little bit claustrophobic playing first person all the time. So if I'm playing in first person, it feels like my nose is very close to the ground. I don't find it quite as relaxing an experience. Well, in fact, I don't find it anywhere near as a relaxing experience. Quite the opposite.
But first person is just more immersive.
I can't disagree with that. Playing first person, it is more immersive, but that's not always what I want. I want to be able to have a more relaxed gaming session and play in an environment that I don't feel that I have to commit 100% to the game. I can talk to people. I can, if I'm streaming, I can talk to people in the chat. I can pay less attention to the game because I'm slightly more removed from it.
So you want to be less immersed?
Well, no, I don't mean that. I mean, if I go into combat, I'll be straight into first person and running it with the first person aspect, because I think it's far better to do it that way. But I think there should be the ability to choose, and that's another thing I have a big issue with. The elitist attitude of the first person not every first-person player, but the elitist attitude of a select few that feel that they have to push the first-person perspective onto third-person players and say, this is the way DayZ is, this is the way it should be played. If you're not playing this way, you're not playing DayZ the correct way. And to those people, I just say, well, I'm trying not to swear, René, so I shan't say. Let's run this way past these.
Yes, I understand what you mean, though. It's I'm a big fan of first person myself because I want to be more immersed into the game, and I want to play first person because it's just more realistic, in my opinion. I imagine myself as a survivor in a post-apocalyptic world, and this is the way I do it. And you just have one perspective as well. It's way harder to play first person because you only have your one point to look from, while in third person you can look at a lot of different things from a lot of different angles, which is all the angles around your character, basically.
But your peripheral view in real life is far greater than the view you get within a first person aspect of DayZ.
That is true.
Granted, it's not the third person aspect that you get, so it's somewhere in between. There's not a medium ground. Yes, third
not
person.
At the moment. There used to be an FOV slider, but they removed that with good reason, I think. But maybe we'll get that back sometime with the new player controller or something. I don't know. We'll have to wait and see, I guess. But the main thing with first person, right, is that works way better as well, is the fights, right? If I see you, I know you can see me, and it's not lying behind a wall and the other guy cannot see me. I cannot see you at the moment because I'm behind this bush. But in third person, you just stand behind this bush and I see your every move. And I think that's the most complained thing about first person versus third person. And
well, people will argue that that's some form of cheat. I say people in a sweeping statement there, and I don't mean everybody. I just mean there are people that will argue that because
it's a common thing that comes back in the discussion. Yeah. It's a common
which you can't level that because it's available to everyone. And I know if I'm stood behind a wall and you're in an open field, then at that point I've got the advantage. But then you've got to argue what you're doing in that open field if you know that there's someone there. Maybe you don't know there's someone there, and I guess under those circumstances, yes, things are the advantage is there for the person that's doing the third person camera peeking. And I think at the end of the day, you've got to decide which style you like to play, which style you're more comfortable playing, and you just play it. And then, because the server's out there to cater for everyone, you just get on with it. And that's all that I ask, is that people just do that, and then don't go telling everyone how to play and which type of game mode they should play. It's much the same as telling someone what style they should play. DayZ should be how you want it to be, not how someone tells you it should be. So
I do agree with that, but you gotta understand that most people are just very passionate about their first person play, right? So I think that's
they're
where
not,
it comes from.
They're scared. They're scared. Sorry to interrupt, but they're scared that the server population is dwindling, that they're in a minority, and that they need more people to sustain the server pop so that they've got full player servers to PvP on. That's it. That's not about it. It might be for you. You might be the exception to the rule, but I'm not buying that. I'm not buying that. I'm not buying that people say it to improve people's experience. Not the majority anyway. And again, I might be setting myself up a little bit there for a bit of a backlash, but that's just the way I see it.
Yeah, that's. I think a lot of people are just passionate about it, to be honest. And of course, I don't like to see the population of it like dwindling, like you said it, of first person, because it's the way I want to play. But at the moment, I'm playing third person with you on a third person server, and I'm playing in a first person perspective like the whole time. I didn't go to third person once. And when I get in a fight, I will hit that enter button if I think about it, because otherwise I feel disadvantaged. And of course, that's what first-person servers are for. And I don't see first-person dying anytime soon. I think it's also to people like me and to a lot of other people to keep promoting it and to keep making videos of it, and just to give a different, to also promote it. It's like that, right?
I think it's also promote it in the right way. I think it's fine. I think it's absolutely fine if you promote it in a way saying, yes, it's more immersive. I agree, 100%. It is. Are you dual carrying? We got no way of killing zombies, or are you not dual carrying?
I'm not dual carrying. Let me.
Okay, well, you're zombie man then.
Yeah.
I think if people go about it the correct way, then I have no issue at all. It's just there are perhaps it's a minority that don't go about it the right way, and they frustrate me.
Yeah, I understand what you mean, and it's not the right way to put it. I mean, they can have their opinion, I think, but it shouldn't be. I think people should play however they want, because if you force people on a specific, camera, some people just might quit the game because they don't like it anymore. And the majority is obviously playing third person. It's also partly how you promote it. A lot of streamers, for example, at the moment, they're just playing third person, and I don't think that helps the first person. And they are
There's a lot of
arguing.
streamers doing first person as well now, though. You've got TRNZ, you've got Minder.
Yes.
There
It has become more a thing, but there was a point in time that no one was playing first person. And it's, it doesn't help. It doesn't help the cause, right? And sometimes I play a lot of, I'm an avid first person player. And sometimes I play, I get the same comments as you. Like, you stupid wall peeker or that kind of stuff. And I don't think that's fair. I think if you, just like you just said, I think if you play on a third-person server, third person, it's what you agreed to play, and people shouldn't complain too much about it. And of course, you can have your, your play style and your opinion about it. Otherwise, I wouldn't be playing with you, right? I wouldn't. We would never play with each other if I would only play first person and you would only play third person.
Yeah, I mean, I've not played first person now for... Oh, I've actually found a backpack. How far are we in?
Nice.
Hour and a half? It's purple, but it'll do. I've actually stopped playing first person because I don't find I need the immersion over the relaxed nature of playing third person. I don't feel I need it. I don't feel my videos need it, and I don't feel the viewers that watch me need it, because on a personal level, when I'm watching a stream, I actually find it more relaxing to watch a third person perspective. And that's probably because you watch a, 3-hour stream. Perhaps 10 minutes of that is gunfight, and 2 hours and 50 minutes of it is people running around. And I just find it's far easier on the eye to have that removed camera view, and a lot easier to play. So,
but if you like if you like watch an edited DayZ first-person video, do you hate it, or do you like it, or what do you think? Well,
because usually with an edited first-person video, it's around the action, and I much prefer DayZ gunplay in first person. So yes, without doubt, it's better. And also, if you try and do cinematics, or unless the cinematics are the character walking slowly or whatever, the cinematics are often shots taken from the eye of the character of scenery. So for that purpose, I think for videos it's fine. But if I was to watch a stream and I had a choice, I'd prefer to watch a third person stream.
Yeah. All right. I don't mind it too much, but I always get frustrated when I watch third person. People are just lying behind a wall or something, you know. But that's the reason why I like first person better. It gives, I think, better footage in fights as well and encounters. And I really think it gives better footage that way. And there is less of a standoff. I think third person also promotes camping. And
Yeah, I
I
agree.
really don't enjoy that part of the game. So I guess I just hate it when people camp in third person. I just want to, you know, especially if they shot at me, I just want to kill them. But yeah.
Yeah, I think, I mean, my playstyle helps quite a bit with regards to third person play because I don't, well, it does and it doesn't. In that, what I mean by that is I don't sit behind objects and sit there and wait for people. I'm 9 times out of 10 I'm on the move, and if I know
Hmm.
someone's camping behind a particular position, I'll just I'll just flank around them and try and outplay them. That's
In a
just
way.
yeah. If it's
Yeah,
if
that's
it
your game.
so I don't feel that impacts me a great deal. I do know what you mean though. You know, if you're going to have two people playing third person and there's a standoff, it can be really boring.
Yeah, and just talking, you know, sometimes I'm just playing randomly and I just hear a voice from behind the fence and I just know they're looking at me from third person. And that's also I don't something I don't like. But it's just I
You
probably
know,
do the same. It's just a scenario that's you
yeah,
know,
well
the
that'll come
situation it
about
just promotes it. Yeah.
because of it. But you could also argue that if that person was behind a fence and they couldn't see you and didn't know your position, then the interaction might not take place. They might just shoot. They might just
Yeah.
come around the fence and shoot you because they're scared. Whereas they can use a little
Mhm.
bit of a comfort blanket of the fence and know that they can actually talk to someone. I know I've used that
Mhm.
before. I've used it.
Yeah.
I've seen someone in third person and used the third person camera aspect to open up something that was could have been hostile that turned out not to be hostile because of third person. So
Yeah, but that's also onto the people themselves, and because they're not comfortable with first person. I think also it's a like you say, it's a little bit easier and a little bit more relaxing. You know, if you get more comfortable with first person, I think this isn't a problem at all. You just act differently. You get playing first person. It's a whole different game. You gotta play more careful. You cannot just rush over to anything.
but you could also say playing third person, you've got to be more careful because people can see you from more positions. Surely,
Hmm.
it can be spun the other way.
Yeah, of course, of course. But I do feel like, you know, obviously we differ from opinion about this. But I do feel like first person, third person promotes that way more. It's the easier thing to do, which is maybe not entirely true. But I feel like it's the easier way to start out with the game. It's the easier way to initially play. So I think people just prefer that initially. Obviously, a lot more people do that and play more, but I don't think it's. I don't think we can finish this discussion without agreeing to disagree.
Well, I think we agreed on certain aspects. I think we
Yeah,
agreed that
that's
it's more
true.
immersive in first person. I think we agreed the gunplay is better in first person. I think we agreed that it's more relaxing to play a third person perspective.
Yeah,
Um, we also agreed that the way to promote first person isn't to hate on third person players and think of them as a lesser being.
yeah, that's true.
Um, what we won't agree on is the fact that you prefer playing first person exclusively and I prefer playing third person exclusively. So, we're never we can't come to an agreement on that because we both prefer a different style of playing the game. So that's just one of those things. We can't alter that.
Yeah, that's true.
And
But
it's not like you're dealing with someone here that doesn't know how it is to play first person. I know
no,
I
no,
know
I know.
exactly how it is. I know
We've played it
how to
together.
play first. Yeah, I can hold my own in first person. I just don't feel as comfortable playing it, and I don't feel as relaxed. And for me, playing a video game, it's more about having enjoyment than it is being on my toes all the time, which is how I feel in first person. And I couldn't complete this discussion with you in first person as in such a relaxed manner, because I would be more concerned about what's happening in the game.
So you agree that first person is also a more tense experience?
I do, yeah. I mean, when I've not played first person for a long time, which the last time I can't think of a time frame, but it was probably 3 or 4 months I hadn't played, and then you dragged me on a first person server, and it ratcheted the tension up a hell of a lot for me, and I didn't feel in my comfort zone like I do when as soon as I load DayZ up and join a server, I feel that I can play the game to a reasonably high level, and I'm confident that I can deal with majority of scenarios. But as soon as you throw me into a first person perspective, it takes me a little bit out of my comfort zone. And there goes the server once again. I think we should find somewhere else, René. Oh no, this is a normal restart, I think.
Yeah, we'll just stay on it. If it happens again, we can always switch.
We've more or less covered first person, third person. I think I don't know, you could go on for all night and you could spend the whole podcast on that very topic. I see it on Reddit time and time again, and I don't want to get involved in the conversation, because I just know which way it will go, and it just frustrates the hell out of me. You've got people
it's not everyone, right?
Oh, it's not everyone. No, it's a vocal minority, and I know that. But they're very vocal, and as I say, they frustrate the hell out of me, and I prefer. There are third-person servers, there are first-person servers. You go play where you want. It's your choice, and just let people live. Let people do what they want.
Yeah, no, I agree. I think you should let people what they want. If people are so passionate about first person, they should play it. A lot of people do play it, especially with the DayZ Underground servers around. So just keep doing that if you enjoy first person, or do like me, play both. Otherwise FT and I wouldn't be playing together. I think we both have very different ideas about looting. Do you think that too?
Well, I know that I can give you a side of a town to loot, or I don't mean that as in I'm telling you what to do. I just say, you go right, I go left, and we can search the town, and then we come to the end of the town, and you'll say, did you find a burlap sack? And I'll say, no, there wasn't any here. And you said, well, I just want to have a quick look in a couple of the garages that you might have missed. René, I didn't miss anything. I've done the whole town. And then you'll come out with a burlap sack and a big smile on your face. And yes, you definitely are more thorough with the looting. But I mean, when I start with a character, I used to have my thoughts were this: I had to get a gun. That was my priority. A gun was the first thing I wanted. Then some form of backpack. I'd work towards a backpack, and that would allow me to collect pretty much anything that I wanted. I would collect everything and hoard everything until all of the parts matched up. So the ammo that I'd been collecting would go with the gun, and that's pretty much how I go about it. And you're a bit more methodical. You'll go through every building, every car, every shed. You'll drive me insane.
Yeah, that's true.
Won't you, René?
I will go through a lot. I don't think I'm methodical. Too methodical, anyway. I'm only methodical up to a certain point. I'm
you're partially methodical. I think you're methodical, or you're not. I think.
I'm up to a certain point. Sometimes I feel like, there's nothing in this town, and then I just, back out, and I just don't check the last couple of buildings, for example. And I think if you're methodical, you loot every single house and every single place and every single room.
That's obsessive. But yes, I mean, I can go into a town and do 3 houses and get a bit of a feel for the place and just say we're moving on. I've had enough. You know. I think talking of looting, we should definitely kill the military zombies at this little base we're at.
Okay, I never do that.
Yeah, I think it's worth it.
Okay, I will kill them.
So this'll tell us whether or not your style of looting is better than my style, won't it?
No, it won't.
It will, because you didn't want to kill these, and I do. So let's see what we come away with.
But it doesn't mean it's wrong.
Where is it?
24 9mm.
There you go, 9mm. So we've got some 9mm rounds, and we've got a tin opener. Worth
I
it.
think it was worth it for the 9mm.
So yeah, I can go into a town and loot 3 or 4 houses and be fed up and be ready for moving. I think you get a feel for a town though, don't you? You
Yeah,
do,
that's true.
After a few houses, you can get a feel for a town and it as to whether or not it's worth staying. But then,
Yeah, that's
you know,
true.
I can start off on a character and I can happily, literally go into every house and every shed and every loot spawn point and do them all from spawn. But
Mm-hmm.
if I'm say this far into a character, so 2 hours in, and we're now going to head over towards somewhere near Severograd, I'll pick my houses. You know, I have favourite houses that I go into that I feel that have better loot than other houses, so I'll pick those houses, and I'll also just sometimes exclusively loot cars because a car has as many loot points as a house, but it's so much faster to go around and vicinity search the car than it is to go inside a house and loot all the rooms. So
Yeah, it depends also on what mood you are. I don't think that should matter, but I think you
Well,
you should feel urged to loot, right?
your mood can be predicted by the amount of time you've spent looting already. You know,
Yeah, that's
it can be
true.
very frustrating. You've got 4 different pistols and you've got 4 different types of ammo, and none of them will mix and match together. And you're getting very frustrated. I mean, I've actually got as far as the Northwest Airfield before with non-mix and match guns.
So you didn't
And
have a gun when you went to the
yeah,
airfield.
yeah, actually
So
onto the airfield.
you went onto the airfield without a gun?
Yeah,
I would never do that. I would never go into the airfield without a gun.
no, well, I'd done a northern run. I'd spent the best part of 2 hours running across, and I just thought, well, what have I got to lose? I'm at a very high loot area,
Your life.
but my life meant nothing at that point because I didn't have anything to defend it with. It had no value.
Your life always matters.
Not if you've run a character for 2 hours and you've got nowhere.
Of
Other
course
than
it does. Because
no,
if
I
you,
could spawn in.
in the
I could
end,
spawn in and find all that I had and more within the first 30 minutes. I spawned in when I was streaming earlier in the week. I spawned in when first town I went to was Mister. I came out of that town with everything. I had a shotgun, I had a pistol, I had a backpack, I had all the clothing I needed. I was energized, I was hydrated, and I was healthy. It shouldn't be that way, but it was that way. So how could you put a value on a life of 2 hours of running across the map and not having anything other than a bit of clothing and guns that you can't shoot? It's no
well,
value to me.
yeah, I don't see it that way. I think it's, of course you should strive for a gun and, to be able to defend yourself with, but I would never go on the airfield without a gun. I mean, I've done it sometimes, but, it's
You can't
most
say
of the
you'd never do
times,
it then.
yeah, I would, that's true.
You'd rarely
but
do it.
yeah, I would, it happens sometimes that I can remember one time that it happened, and that was very rare. So it was similar. I had like a gun without matching ammo, and I only had a couple of bullets, and that was it. I made a friend though, so good times. But on the other hand, I just feel more comfortable going, around the airfield or away from the airfield again. Because, I do this all the time with Starry Sober even. If I don't feel comfortable with my current weaponry going somewhere, I'm just gonna avoid it. I go to a different town to come back later, maybe. It's just something, if I feel it's too dangerous, I try to avoid it. I don't go to the airfield very often.
You don't take the risk, and you're right next to the airfield, and you've run across the map. You don't take the risk of going on the airfield, and there's a chance there's not going to be people there, and you can get a gun that you've got ammo for, or you get ammo for a gun.
It's very rare, though.
Well, I don't know. I mean, yes, the airfield's not the loot haven it used to be, but...
No, that's not what I mean. I mean, you
very
go
rare
to the
not to see
airfields.
someone.
Yeah. And you're in such a disadvantage without a gun. That's more what I'm going at. It's just, I wouldn't do it because it's almost like suicide.
Nah, 90% of DayZ players can't shoot anyway. You'll be alright.
Well, I'm one of them, probably.
Oh, you're one of the 10%, René.
Yeah.
You can shoot. You just choose not to.
I can shoot sometimes.
Your voice is your weapon.
Yeah, that's true. Well, I hope it is anyway. But you would never do that, right? Do you sometimes don't feel comfortable enough to go to a town and then avoid a specific area completely because you just don't feel up for it?
No. If I'm 100% healthy, you may recall, I think you were watching the stream that I did earlier in the week. I'd taken some damage, and I was near the Starry Novi crossover, and I'd got a red 9 and there was automatic guns being fired, and I made the decision at that point that it's not actually safe for me to try and get involved in that fight. Yeah, but I backed away and decided it was a fight for another day. So there are times I'll do it, but if I'm 100% healthy and I've got something that I feel I can fight with, yeah, I'll fight with it.
Yeah, I would. I'm even backing out of staying away from areas because I think there are people. I don't even know if there are people or not.
No, I don't. Any place I'd used to avoid was Mishkino, and I don't go to Tizzy very often. But it's more, I don't really want to do the whole big journey to Tizzy to come across people that are third-person camp in a specific building that needs looking at.
Yeah.
So I don't feel that the time it takes to get to Tizzy is worth the fairly high chance of dying.
Yeah, that's true. So you do have this sometimes.
Well, Tizzy is the place, but Mishkino, I didn't go to Mishkino that often because I just felt people were camping it for that. So again, the risk, you weigh up the risk and reward, and to me, Tizzy and Mishkino, the old Mishkino, were not worth the risk for the reward that you got.
Yeah, so I think we do feel the same, have similar behaviors around this, but I'm way more nervous than in some situations probably, and you have the bar way lower, no higher, higher, right?
Yeah, I wouldn't say I don't give a shit at all about anything. It's very, very specific for me, location-wise. You might not go Novi, Starry, Northwest Airfield, Tizzy. You'll have quite a number of places that you'll perhaps swerve. Whereas for me at the moment, the only place I don't go is Tizzy, and it's a risk reward, and it's the time to get there. If Tizzy was in the middle of the map, I wouldn't run around it. I didn't run around Mishkino. I just didn't. If there's so many other places I felt that you could go that would give you a better reward for the dangers that were there. So.
Yeah, I do agree. I always felt the same about Mishkino. Now it's changed. It's a little bit different. A lot of people are mourning that it's changed. Some people really like that area to fight other groups of players and that kind of stuff. But for me, that wasn't. Most of the times I went there, I probably died. So
Yeah, because you're going up against organised groups that are already in place,
yeah.
um, ready to shoot you. It doesn't take any. It's
Mm.
not hard to kill people in this game, and especially if you're already set up and there's a number of you. You can see all entry points. You've got no sway on your gun. The person that's coming in um, is undergeared because that's why they're there.
Yeah.
Um, it's not difficult. It's not a fair fight. That's why I often like the times I would like going there is when I was kitted out and I could go there and deal with these people that are doing that. That's where a bit of the enjoyment comes from, Mishkino.
Yeah, I guess so. I remember when we found this sniper. I think Running Man spot him, and we hauled him up. Remember? That was fun.
The one on the hill there,
Mm-hmm.
on the West Hill. You held him up actually, René.
Yeah.
My
I did.
opinion of you changed that day. You went up to him and went, "Don't move! Don't move a single muscle. I will shoot you." Well, you didn't put that voice on like that, but you shouted at him. You scared me.
It sounded like BA. Don't shoot him, you fool! I can't do it, obviously.
It sounds a bit like this. I've got my BA in your pocket. I just perfect. That was.
Nice. Yeah, FT has this device on his desk that makes BA sounds.
So we've covered different ideas about looting, but not a basic concept of loot zones and what to do if the loot run you're on is very scarce and it feels like it's being snatched away from you. I guess we did touch on it with me saying
Yeah,
four houses.
I think we touched that. Yeah. And the loot zones, I think DayZ has a loot economy. That's what it's called, central loot economy. And that's basically the concept in which they are providing all the items in the game to us. So all the houses and that kind of stuff, they have spawn points, all the cars, even some other objects like heli crashes and that kind of stuff. They all have loot around, and obviously they have a big job to do, like always, to balance the loot. And also with the loot, they can try to move people to different areas. That's where these loot zones come into place. Can you explain the loot zones to the people who not have heard about it or might need some refreshment?
Well, the idea is that they're banded, so you could put a section of circles across the whole of Chinaris, and then as you work your way in through those circles, the outer circle would be Zone 1, Zone 2 is the second one, then as you work closer to the northwest it works into Zone 4, but they can alter these zones. It's not strictly by banding as I've described it. That's just to give you the concept. They've also touched on this in the status report, haven't they? They've talked about how they're not
Partly, yeah.
they're not really happy with the way things are happening at the moment. You can feel it while you're playing as well. It's not how it should be. You go to a certain house and you'll find 6 repeaters,
Yeah.
or you'll find 5 of the same hat. So that's the sort
It's
of
not
thing.
always though. It's just from time to time you come across a house or a bus that.
Yeah, that's what I mean. It's not like every house is like that, obviously, but those are the sort of things they're trying to eradicate. And as Brian puts it, he likes the word iteration or iterate. I always find it's a funny word to use, but yeah, so basically they're working on it.
Yeah. It's just step 1, and then you go to step 2, and then you go to step 3, and with every step you improve how things work, and you also try to balance it that way. And I think that's mainly what loot zones are about. When you're at the coast, when you're in loot zone 1, there is a little loot around, but when you go to zone 2, there's a little bit more loot around, and like that they can like force people to move inland a little bit more, because everyone wants to survive in this game. Well, maybe some people don't. But
everybody wants the fat loot, though.
Everyone wants to loot, that's for sure.
So that's one surefire way of getting them in. Talking of the loot, just outside the edge of this town is 3 or 4 tents. We should definitely look at.
Yeah, 3, I think.
Well, it's Verograd, right on the western edge. I'm just overlooking the the fire station. That does actually remind me, René, that I've been very lax with my videos recently, and I know this is not a place to pimp my videos or talk about my videos really, because we're talking about DayZ, but yeah, I've got that particular encounter.
I still got it on my queue too.
Yeah, it's a bit of a rare place to have. We had an encounter at Severograd, and it was it night time?
I don't know.
Night time, I think it was. But basically, we got in that zone again I spoke about earlier, where you feel completely comfortable. In fact, it was at the start of at the top of the podcast. You feel completely comfortable, and you've been playing for a couple of hours. We've been playing for 2 or 3 hours and not seen anyone. And I challenged René to hit the top of the fire station. I won't give too much away here because I think I will be doing a video with his gun. He was 400 meters out, maybe. He had a scope. I told him a point to hit, and he tried to shoot it and missed, and then tried again and missed. So I said I'd have a go. I'm just about to shoot, and there's a guy 20 meters from me took a shot at René. René was, I don't know, 200 meters away from me, and it just scared the absolute shit out of me. This guy suddenly shot at René, and all hell broke loose from there. It was, yeah, it was fun.
Yeah, keep an eye on the videos. No, I don't know. I will put it in, but it's not my next video. But I still have it saved.
I've got a to-do folder now, and it's got a video I need to work on, and that one. The problem is both of them from streams, and I initially started out by saying that I won't do streams and put them into videos, but if the footage warrants it, I will. It's just I don't know. I feel like you're almost like you're cheating the people that have come to the stream. They've sat there and waited 2 hours for something to happen, and you then go and put it in a video for everyone else that didn't wait the 2 hours. But I suppose that's not really the right way to look at it. If it's worth putting in a video, it's worth putting in a video.
Yeah, of course. I would just don't do it like always. I think if you're a YouTuber, I think you should always like, also have
some
content.
exclusivity.
Yeah.
Paul, you won't get this far and listen to this, but we're talking about you here.
That's just my opinion, but yeah, I think you should. It's cool to have some exclusive content, but it doesn't mean you don't have to leave streams out of the context. Sometimes stuff is too cool to leave out, and I've done that in the past, and you have done it in the past. Obviously, your bar is higher when you have been streaming. Something really cool has to happen. Will you put it in a video?
Yeah, I think I could do a lot more in the way of stream highlights, but I don't know. I just don't. I don't like doing it so much.
Yeah, it's okay. If you don't want to, you don't do, and if you do want to, you do. It's simple.
Yeah, it works.
I wanted to ask you. Do you remember your first camp?
I do.
So what's the story of your first camp?
Well, obviously it goes back to mod days.
Yeah.
Because I presume you mean the first camp in mod. I mean, I could say the first camp in standalone. Let's do that first. I don't even think. I mean, but the base bandit would be the first serious attempt at setting up some form of camp on standalone. But the base bandit series.
That was cool.
Yeah, I thoroughly enjoyed
we talked about last time.
Yeah, we shan't. There needs no more pimping. That was. But yeah, that was thoroughly enjoyable. But in the mod, you could be more successful with your base because we all know Arma 2 has its little glitches and problems, shall we say? And you could hide tents a lot easier. You could put them. If you pitched a tent, it wasn't like in the standalone. If you try and pitch a tent, it says it's not flat ground or you can't do it because there's an obstruction. In the mod, it just pinged the tent wherever, and we had a very successful base at Riffy, but none of the tents were visible because we just pitched them right next to the rocks, and the bulk of the tent went into the rock. You had to bring your inventory up to find out the contents of the tent, and it's not like it might sound a little bit dirty doing it that way, but it was the way people hid their tents. That's how people did it.
We did it too, like that.
So, but that was that's wasn't the first one, but that's where we had the most successful base. But I remember when we first started out making bases, you used to be able to. I don't did you everyone get a map? I think it did. You could press M and it brought the map up, or at least on some servers.
Yeah.
And you could write on the map. You could put positions on the map. So Toby, we built this map, built this base. It was a stupid place. It was on top of a hill right next to Mogilevka, that we thought would be good because we would be able to find it and we'd remember where it was. So that was the whole sole basis of this positioning of this base. We would find it, therefore it was good. And Toby marked the map and put base. Just wrote base on the map, and we'd be coming back to this base, and there would be people all over, flocking from all over. There would be gunfights. We'd be like, "What is going on? Why is this position so shit?" Yes, okay, it's near Mogilevka. It's central to the map, but why is there so much traffic? So many people coming through here. And then I brought the map up, and I said, "Who wrote our base on the map, and who drew a big cock as well?" And Toby said, "What?" I said, Someone's put our base on the map. Who's? I did. And I said, "Why did you write that on there? Everyone sees it." And he didn't realise that everyone would see that as soon as you open the map up, whoever had wrote on the map, everyone on the server saw what had been written on the map, and obviously people were drawing big cocks, but people were also finding our base because Toby had told everyone. It was absolutely hilarious.
Oh man.
But you learn from these things. It took the server owners. Some server owners obviously were right on the ball with that because they didn't want pictures of willies on the map, so they would clear the maps. But
I would clear the maps because it was like a shared map, and if I saw something stupid on the map, I would just clear it because obviously for obvious reasons, I didn't like it. So. But you saw like some people were just looking for bases all the time, and they were just marking them on the map for other people to go and find.
Yeah, wasn't ideal, I have to say. But he didn't know about the concept and just thought he was writing it on the map for himself so he could remember it. But no. And you could also put markers on the map, so it made it so easy. Toby wrote base right near Mogilevka. You just open your map up, click a marker on the map, and you'd see in game. You'd see a green marker. I seem to remember that would just take you straight there. Have you got us lost, René?
Well, I was just running to this way.
Okay,
it's good.
So you've got your own little camping story then, René?
Well, I think the first camp I remember vividly is initially I met a group of players, and a lot of you already know who I'm talking about. They were called Oleg and Jam, and initially when I met them, they wouldn't tell me their camp location because they were just being very careful. And I was like, okay, I didn't mind too much. I was just happy that I had some people to roll with, and we played like almost every day since then. And at some point we decided to like build a new camp together. And I think it was at some sort of plateau south of Tolina. And Tolina back then was a very small town. No one would go there almost. And it was just in between two pine trees. We had the tents back then. They were very, very military. So unless you would basically stand in the trees, you wouldn't be able to see it. Just like barrels are now in DayZ Standalone, I guess. I think we had this camp for like a long time. I think we had it for weeks and weeks. And we were playing on a server called RPZ, Rock Paper Zombies. And that server, we just always played on there. And at some point, Oleg, he went to that camp to drop some guns off or pick up a gun, I don't remember. Suddenly he got like killed. And he was like, "Oh no, I was just leaving the camp. Someone's at our camp." So he was panicked a little bit, right? So because it was such a good place and we didn't want to lose our stuff and that kind of stuff. And I was like pretty close. I was like 5 minutes away. So I ran over there and there was a bandit and he was running just away from the camp. And I just, I shot him. And for me, that was I didn't shoot a lot of people back then, but that was like, it was a pretty good shot for me. But it was also someone who wasn't paying attention. He was just running away from our camp. He had just looted. And back then you had side chat, so he was very frustrated, and he told everyone like, "Oh, I hate dying," and it was like the single kill on site dude that was on the server. There was like, he was the murderer on the server, so we felt great about it afterwards, but also a little bit sad because we had to move our camp, and it was, probably because he followed my friends back to our camp. That's probably how we found it. And yeah, that was double feeling.
It's good though that you got the revenge for Oleg.
Yeah, that was awesome. There was a pretty euphoric moment, to be honest. That was awesome.
I think the level of adrenaline. I mean, I still, if I get involved in a gunfight on a character that I care about, because we've covered this earlier, that perhaps sometimes I don't care for my characters as much as I should, apparently. The adrenaline of a gunfight is pretty intense, but back then, when you're not so hardened to it, it was the intensity was even greater, because you're just not used to these situations. You're not used to getting into fights, and you'll never replace those feelings. You'll never get them again to the same intensity unless they somehow bring something into the game that gives you that sort of fear. So perhaps in the future, further down the line, when that scenario you just described happens again for perhaps a future base, then you may get sort of similar intensities. But I don't know. I think that's just natural. You can't get those feelings back.
No.
I don't mean they're not there. I just mean the intensity of them's not there.
Yeah, this is the whole reason why people say, like, to newer players, don't look for a map. Don't ask too many questions. Just go into the game and experience it like blind. Because I think that's how a lot of us did it. And obviously when you need help, ask for help. But this whole feeling of getting lost in a map, that's something we never get back. And that's something all the veterans crave for. So if you're a new player, enjoy that feeling, that's for sure. Because that's something that's really, really special. If you should cherish that. I'm at the wall, by the way.
So are we wrapping this up now, René? As like, this could be like a theme as we come to the end of a podcast. We are now approaching commence military base.
Yeah.
And we're going to have to give it a little bit more attention, perhaps, than we've given the game whilst doing the podcast. Not that we haven't, we haven't survived. We have. But this could be
until now.
This could be. We're on a full pop server. 60 players, 58 other players. I'm in the trees at the moment above with a sniper rifle, about to take a look into the base. Waiting for my breath to come back. René's a little bit closer because he's got close quarter weapons. And we'll report back in what will be episode 3 or part 3 or number 3 of the podcast.
Yeah, maybe predict, will we survive?
Will we survive? I've got a CR 527 with a scope, 2 rounds, and I've got a shotgun with 12 rounds. What are you taking into this?
I got a repeater with 14 plus 20 rounds, so enough rounds for basically this whole base. I have enough bullets, that's for sure. But
do you have anything close quarters, or is it just your repeater?
No, it's my repeater. I'm a little bit nervous.
To be honest, I've got a red 9 I should have given you.
That's fine. It's too late now.
Okay.
See you all in the next episode.
Catch you all next time.
Bye-bye.